If you followed nerdy things at all for the past few decades, there's a pretty good chance that you've come across something Star Wars related. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, sci-fi franchises of all time. Now, what I've always loved about Star Wars is how it takes all these crazy things and mashes them together. You've got spirituality, you've got sword fights, you've got political intrigue, you've got romance and crazy creatures, and it's all mashed together on this interplanetary landscape. My favorite thing, however, has got to be the spaceships. There are a huge number of ships that fly around and fight these epic space battles. Too many to count, really. Now, I do a large amount of gaming with my wife, and so when I found this game, the X-Wing Miniatures game, which is specifically designed for 2 players, I knew that I had to pick it up. The Star Wars X-Wing Miniatures game is a tactical space combat tabletop game designed for 2 players by Jay Little. In it, players are going to take control of a group of ships and battle across the void of space in hopes of being the last pilot standing. Players will outfit their fleets with different pilots, upgrades, and weapons to best outmaneuver one another 1 round at a time. Each round of X-Wing involves 4 phases: the planning phase, the activation phase, a combat phase, and then the end phase. The planning phase has players secretly choosing a maneuver and waiting for their opponent. They do so by picking an icon that corresponds to a move on their class of ship's maneuver dials. Once they have picked a move, they place their dial face down and wait for the other player to do so. Once players have chosen a maneuver, they reveal their choice to one another. Players then move on to the activation phase. During this phase, players move their ships one at a time according to their pilot rating and the maneuver they chose. The pilot with the lowest pilot skill executes his move first, and the rest follow in ascending order. Movement is dictated by these maneuver templates. Line up the correct template and move your ship to its new location. Some templates even give you the option of rotating your ship as long as your pilot can handle it. Some moves on these dials are red. These moves give your pilot a stress token, and they cannot perform another red movement until performing a green one. This is an easier maneuver that calms your pilot down. Once each player has moved all of their ships, play proceeds to the combat phase. The combat phase gives each ship a chance to perform an attack. The pilot with the highest rating shoots first here. That's right, folks. There should be no questions here about who shoots first. Players know if a ship is within range based on their ship's firing arc and the range marker. If a ship is in range, you then determine hits by rolling die. The attacker rolls these red dice, and the defender the green. The number of dice you roll is dependent again upon your pilot card. When a roll is made, hits are determined by these icons. If a defender rolls an evade, then it cancels an attack. Each time a ship is hit, you remove a shield from its pilot card. Once ships' shields are depleted, you can then issue hits directly to it. Once a ship has hits equal to its hull value, it is destroyed. The player with the last ship standing wins. X-Wing is a pretty in-depth game, and you can change its difficulty by adding any number of these advanced rules, as well as ships from other expansions, like the B-Wing expansion you see here. I like to think that George Lucas was sitting around his house trying to name ships one day and just saw an episode of Sesame Street. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, Fantasy Flight has released a huge number of ships, and with the new movies coming out, I don't think you'll see them slowing down anytime soon. If you're looking for a game that simulates epic space battles specifically designed for 2 players, then you have to check out the X-Wing Miniatures game.